Fanny's picture. Okay, this is Pat and my generation's grandmother. You remember your grandfather Ted? That was his mother. Born in 1886, died in 1924. That picture was taken in 1912 when she was teaching school. Yes. Okay. Grandma and Grandpa Hanks. Okay. This is Grandma Fanny's parents, Grandpa William Jackson Hanks and Grandma Tremuthus Hoskins Hanks. William Jackson lived 1839 to 1924. Tremuthus lived 1847 to 1912. So if you want to go to Grandpa Hoskins' picture. And that is Grandma Hanks' father. That's John Jackson Hoskins. He was born in 1807, I believe, and he died in 1883. And it's, you know, you can kind of tell there's some Uncle Ted in his picture. You know, yeah. Okay. Now Grandma Lucinda's. Okay, this is Pat and my generation's grandfather, John B.'s mother, right there. She was Lucinda Brown. She was born in 1850, and she died in 1905, as you can see. And her father was full Cherokee, and her mother, I believe, was half Choctaw. You can see the Indian influence. You can certainly see it there. And then finally the woman. And then this is two of Lucinda's boys. This is Pat and my grandfather, John B.'s brothers. The one on the left is Uncle George. He was born in 1879. He died in 1960. He was a Spanish-American War veteran. My dad knew him very well because Uncle George lived in California at a time when my dad spent a lot of time out there in the Navy. And then Uncle Willie is the one on the right. And he died of tuberculosis when he was a young man. And so I put together a couple of things here. One of them is the surnames that hang on our family tree. I'll read through them here pretty quick. Ashton or Ashton, Brown, Barnes, Bourne, Burton, Cox, Cock, Christopher, Crockett, Davis, Flower, Fleener, Garlick, Hanks, Hall, Hiskell, Harper, Hawkins, Johnson, Kelly, Lee, Litton, Ramsey, Rankin, Robertson, Sexton, Shipley, Smith, Sallee and its variations of spelling, and then Taliaferro, Woodward, Webster, and Williamson. And another one, I laid it out on your table if you want to just kind of follow along. This is a complement of our military ancestors. Now, this is not a list of all the relatives we ever had in the military. This is just simply the ones that directly hang on our family tree. These are multiple great-grandfathers. There's no, multiple great-uncles or umpteenth cousins here. And I'd just like to maybe read a little bit and maybe what I've written here and just elaborate maybe a little bit on each one. In the French and Indian War, our ancestors were Leonard Hall, lived from 1728 to 1809. And in the French and Indian War, he organized and led Indians in alliance with the British. And for his service, he was awarded land grants in Kentucky by Virginia's colonial governor and future founding father, Patrick Henry. And we have copies of those documents. And yes, Patrick Henry's signature is on those documents granting land to William Hall. Now, his land in Kentucky was surveyed by Daniel Boone, and Leonard Hall sent two of his sons, Leonard Hall Jr. and Caleb Hall, and they worked with Daniel Boone in the surveying of this land, and their signatures are next to Daniel Boone's on survey documents. Then our ancestor John Cox. He lived from 1739 to 1818. At the age of 17, he was captured by the Delaware Indians and spent 6 months in captivity with them. After his escape, He made a full report of his captivity to the Colonial Council of Pennsylvania, and it can be read in their records, and it can also be read online. However, if you're going to read it online, I got to warn you, he saw some pretty graphic stuff there that he talks about, so you might want to take that into account before you get into it. Okay, he then fought in Byrd's campaign against the Indians, and then he came to Virginia and was commissioned a captain in the Virginia militia, and was a lifelong Indian fighter and frontier regulator. Now that brings us to the Revolutionary War. Our ancestor William Hall, born 1756, died 1811. He served as a sergeant major in the Continental Line from Virginia in General Nathaniel Greene's Southern Army. He was in Greene's Southern campaign against the British. Kind of an unusual campaign.